Alrighty, so for this video, we're going to go ahead and talk about a different way of factoring, and it's called the AC method. So when you're given a quadratic like this, something that doesn't have a coefficient that can be factored out very easily, because nothing can go into 1, -3, and 10, and we don't have any of the letters in common that we can take out, is a different way we can factor is by using what's called the AC method. So what you want to do is first you want to draw this X. And what goes in this X is you're going to do the A multiplied by the C. And what A and C are going to be these first terms. So you're going to have A is the first coefficient, then you have something squared, and then you'll have subtract or plus B with just an X, and then that would be C as the last one. So when I'm talking about A, B, and C, I'm talking about the first coefficient, the second coefficient, and the constant. Okay, so right here, my A for this first one would be 1, and 1s are invisible, so we got A as the 1, and -3 would be my B, and then -10 is my C. Okay, I would go ahead and write this down. That way you have that. So go ahead and pause the video, make sure you have that written down. And now we're going to go ahead and talk about how to write this in the AC method. So we're going to create this X, and we're going to do A multiplied by C. In this case, A is 1 and C is -10. And we're going to multiply those. And then the bottom of this X is whatever just B is. So in this case, just B is -3. And what you're trying to do here is we are trying to, on the other side of the X, so right here, if we simplify this, we have -10 on top, because that's what 1 times -10 is. We have -3 on bottom. We need to come up with something that goes here where it multiplies to equal this number, but adds to equal the bottom number. So we need to come up with two numbers that when multiplied create -10, and that when added create -3. Okay, so if I'm looking at this, I'm going to start thinking of what creates 10. Okay, so I know that 1 and 10 create 10. I know that 2 and 5 create 10, and that's all that I can think of. And so can I take one of these pairs and add it together to create 3? Well, if we were to take -2 and add 5, that would give us +3. So I need -5, and then this adds to give me 3. So one side of this X would be 2, and the other side of this X would be -5. Because if I take these two and multiply them together, we get 10. And if I take these two and add them together, we get 3, -3. Okay, now how we simplify it from here, once we have this information, is we take our quadratic and we're going to split it up. We're going to split up this -3 right here into these two factors. We're going to undo combining like terms. Okay, so we'll still have the x squared, but then instead of subtract 3x, we are going to put subtract 5x, and then we're going to put plus 2x. We're splitting up this 3 into the like terms that we just found right here, and then rewriting the rest of the problem the way that it is. Now, from here, we can go ahead and we're going to do what's called factor by grouping. So I'm going to essentially split this equation down the middle, and I'm going to factor this half, and then I'm going to factor this half. Okay, So if we're looking here, what this side has in common is they both have an x. So I'm going to put an x here. And if I take an x out, we have an x left and a -5. Okay, now over here, what this side has in common that I can take out is a 2. If I take out a 2, I'm left with x subtract 5. And now our final answer is going to be, notice that these two match. This is going to be your first set of parentheses in what our expression from the beginning can turn into. We can rewrite this whole thing as one of the parentheses being x minus 5 because they match. And then we have to write the other set of parentheses using the stuff that was in front. We have x and 2, and we are going to be adding them together because the 2 is positive. So this right here is your final answer. Now keep in mind, this part right here will come into play a lot more when the number in front, when that a is not 1. But because it is 1, then you can just go straight from this step to here super easily without having to really do all of this part. This part is just going to be really good to practice if you understand it, because if you were to have, say, 3x squared at the beginning instead of just 1x squared, this part right here is going to make a big difference. You're going to need it. Okay, but the problems we're doing today just involve that invisible 1 in front, but I would go ahead and practice this way. Okay, so let's go ahead and do another problem. So let's do r squared plus 12r plus 32. Okay, so since we can't pull anything out, we don't have any GCFs or common factors, what we're going to do is we're going to do this factor by grouping method. We're going to do our AC method. We're going to make our x. So I need a times c, and then I need b down here at the bottom. A times c would be 1 and multiplied by 32. And then b right here is just 12. So we need to find two numbers that when multiplied together, they make 32, but when added together, they create 12. So I'm going to go ahead and start thinking about how we can make 32. We can make 32 by doing 1 and 32. We can do 32 by doing 2 and 16. We can also create 32 by 8 and 4. And I'm going to stop there because I think I found my pair. Look right here. If I add these two together, it does not create 12, so that pair doesn't work. If I look at 2 and 16, if I add these two together, it doesn't make 12, so that one doesn't work. But if I look right here at 4 and 8, if I add 4 and 8 together, that does give me 12. So those are going to be my two numbers. We got 4 and 8. So what my answer is going to be is, because we have an r, we're going to break it down into r, and then since this is positive 4, it would be r plus 4 in parentheses. And since the other one is a positive 8, it would be r plus 8. This is going to be my final answer right here. We did the super quick way. I'm going to show you how to get that same answer by undoing the combining like terms when we break it down, like how we can get that. So right here, we would break that 12r down into 4r and 8r. Okay, then we bring everything else down. I have r squared, and we have 32. Now we're going to break this equation in half. And what can we pull out over here? We're going to undo. We're going to do what we did yesterday. We're going to factor that r out, so we're left with r plus 4. And then over here, we can take out an 8, which is going to leave us with r plus 4 as well. And since they are the same, Now that's going to be our first set of parentheses, which is r plus 4. That gets rid of those. And our second set of parentheses is going to be the stuff left in front, which is r and 8. And since that 8 is positive, they will be adding together. So it'd be r plus 8. And here is your final answer. Let's do one more. So we got r squared minus 15r plus 54. I don't have anything I can factor out immediately, so we're going to go ahead and do our AC method with a times c and b down at the bottom. So that's going to give me 54 on top, and we have negative 15 down here at the bottom. And now we need to come up with two numbers that when multiplied create 54, and when added create negative 15. Okay, so I'm going to start off by just thinking of the factors of 54. We got 54 is 1 and 54. We got 2 and 27. So far I can't see anything that adds to 15. This one doesn't, this one does it. Something else can go 54 is 9. Oh, there we go, 9 and 6. Now, if I combine 9 and 6 just the way they are, that will give me positive 15. So how could we get it to where it adds to negative 15, but we still get a positive answer up here? And the answer is a negative times a negative equals a positive. So we're going to want to make both of these negative, because then I have negative 9 plus negative 6. That will give me negative 15. It also means that a negative times a negative will give me a positive 54. So these are my factors right here. So we have negative 9 and negative 6. Since we have an r, it means your first set of parentheses is going to be r, and then we do the first factor, which is subtract 9. Then your second set of parentheses is going to be r, and whatever your second factor is, negative 6. So r subtract 6. And I'll show you the other way we can get that is by undoing this combining like terms right here. So we would do, this breaks down into 9r, and this one can be negative 6r. Undoing that combining like terms, then we keep everything else the same. And we're split this equation in half, and then factor. We're going to undistribute. Okay, we're going to undo distributive property. We're going to take out an r over here. So we're left with r minus 9. And we're going to take out a 6 over here, negative 6. So I'm left with r plus, it'd be r subtract 9, because I took out a negative 6. And so I'd have to do 54 divided by negative 6, which would give me negative 9. And now look, those insides match, which means that can be my first set of parentheses of r minus 9. And then the second set of parentheses is going to be those numbers in front, which would be r subtract 6. Look, they match. Yay! And that is my final answer.